Hi everyone, this is Cortezerino. Today we're doing the tutorial for Pac-Man. Now this is a very large redstone build, but it is survival friendly, and if you don't believe me, I'll put the link to the video we're watching right now into the description, and you can see me build it in survival, and you can watch my friend Motbot here have a game of it. So it's just like the original Pac-Man game, but we're using melon slices here. They get dropped up through the floor and you need to collect them all while being pursued by zombies. Now you can adjust the amount of zombies in the game, and that is half the fun, is just adding more and more zombies to the game and seeing how many you can complete it with. And this is a really fun game to play on a server because personally, I prefer to be up the top watching someone else get murdered by the zombies rather than being down there myself. So let's show you how to build it. If you look in the description of the video, you'll see a world download for this world, so you'll be able to jump on and give Pac-Man a game yourself and see if you like it and see if you want to build it. As you can see, it is a large build, but it's mostly repetition and the redstone components aren't too complicated, so anyone should be able to build it. And I've specifically avoided using any features specific to 1.11, so if you're playing on the console, this should all work properly except for maybe some of the mob mechanics, but if there's any changes on the console edition, it shouldn't be too hard to fix. First thing you're going to need is a zombie spawner, and because the footprint is so large, you want to make sure you've got room to build it. We're going to be digging down about 13 or 14 blocks below the spawner, so make sure you're not going to hit bedrock. So to begin with, you want to dig out your spawning chamber, so keep this spawner lit up nice and good, and we're going to be building with a 4-block gap before the walls. So this is where our first wall will go, and we're going to be doing a 2-block gap above the spawner, so that's where your roof will go, and a 2-block gap below the spawner, so that's where your floor will go, and we'll fill this in. So once you've done that, just spam it with torches to prevent any spawns, and we're going to leave 2 blocks above the spawner just to stop any zombies from spawning up there. Now directly below the spawner, punch a hole in the floor, and if you want to check you've got the dimensions right for your room, you can place a bucket of water in the corner and it won't go down that hole there. So decide whereabouts you're going to be building the majority of the game. I'm going to build it here. So in this wall, just leave a 1-block gap facing directly at that spawner and pop some glass in there. So underneath this glass window, I want you to pop a ladder right there. This is going to be the escape route for the game, and we'll build this ladder down. So there's 4 ladders right there. Each side of the ladder, come out 3 blocks and then fill in the middle like so. Now we're going to do the floor for the room, and you're going to want to have a beacon with haste too because there's a lot of digging to do. So to begin with, place 3 glass there, then build out 5 on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 on the other side. So you'll have a floor of 13 right there. Now coming this way, counting that as 1, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Counting that one, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 21 in this direction, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'll show you the dimensions again really quickly. There's 13 glass along here, 5 here, 7 here, 21 in that direction, and it's all even, so not too complicated. Next you want to go and fill all of this in. Now I've got no walls here because I'm not actually building this underground, but you'll have stone all around here. What you want to do is go and replace all that stone with your visible block. And the ceiling height is up to you, but I like to leave a 4-block gap so it's not too claustrophobic. Okay, I haven't put the ceiling up here because it'll get very dark and those aren't good conditions for a tutorial. But I'll put a small one here So this is 3 blocks tall where the spawner is, but like I said before, I recommend the ceiling being 4 blocks high. And you want to leave these spaces in here empty, so dig out the stone there because we're going to have some note blocks in there a bit later. Now on the opposite side from the spawner, you want to dig out a doorway the same size as we've got over there, and I'll put in a bit of a floor here. And this is going to be the entrance to your game, so you'll have a couple of chests here for people to put all their armor and all their gear in before they enter the Pac-Man game, and your start button will go right there. So you want to get your digging trousers back on because we're going to be digging down a whole lot more. So you want to leave a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 block gap between the glass and your new floor, and just dig all of it out, and not just below the glass but also below everything that we've already built. So underneath this starting area and also underneath the spawner. Now you notice I've left 9 blocks here with yellow hardened clay. That's because this is going to be a permanent floor, whereas where I've got the stone, we're just going to build a bit here, and then once we're done, we're going to knock that out and go down even further. And on the sides in the playing area of the maze, you can continue this wall down another 3 blocks below the glass. So now you want to find the exact center of your maze here. So it should be 7 blocks in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and knock that out. Yep, that's the center. And you can place a trapdoor right there. That'll be the entry point for when you start the game. Now we'll go down below and you come directly beneath this trapdoor, and we're going to knock out that block and count 3 in each direction. 1, 2, 3, and then we'll clear out this 7 by 7 square. So next you want to grab some droppers and come over to one of the corners of your maze, get directly beneath the piece of glass in the corner and place a dropper facing straight up. And we're going to be skipping a block and then placing a dropper all the way along the floor here, but only underneath the border of the glass. So we're just going to outline our room here, and so just keeping an eye on where the glass is, we're just going to follow the wall. And did I go too far? No, I didn't. And we're just going to outline the entire room. Now we're just going to place down some marker blocks. So I want you to face your spawner and come directly beneath your trapdoor in the center of the room, turn to the right and go to this dropper right on the edge. So we're going to skip a block, then place a block, skip a block, and place a block. Now we'll go over to the other side, and you want to skip a block, place a block, then skip 3 blocks, 1, 2, 3, and then place a block. And these are just marker blocks. Now we're just going to fill in a grid of droppers all facing straight up, except for where we have our marker blocks and where we've got that hole in the floor. So just that's in the wrong spot. Every second block we're just going to place in a dropper. So it'll look like that when you're done, and you can then take out these marker blocks. We don't need them anymore. So grab yourself some hoppers, and we're facing the spawner again. I want you to place 1 hopper into the side of each of these droppers from the same side every time, and we're going to do this for every single dropper. So these droppers are going to be firing melon slices. So to refill them with the melons, we're going to use a minecart running along all of these hoppers. So to begin, I want you to face the spawner's down there, come along to this corner here and replace this block with a permanent block. And we're just going to place blocks all along in between these hoppers, and the track will run all the way along here. And this is where our minecart is going to run. When you get to the end, knock out that block, place a permanent one. The minecart's going to take a corner here, replace that block, and just continue this line all along to the other side. Okay, so we've brought this back, and just like we did on that corner over there, going to knock out that block. Minecart is going to take a corner here, replace that one too, and just keep going back and forth in this pattern until we've done absolutely everywhere. And it just keeps taking corners until it finishes all the way down in this far corner right here. Now that we've done this, we're going to make a couple of changes though. So come over to the center and we're looking at the spawner there. And you can see we've got these 3 straight tracks of blocks right here. I want you to knock out that block and replace it with a slab. We're also going to knock out all of these blocks in the middle, and we're going to replace all of these with slabs at this level. So the track's going to be 1 level lower than all the rest of the tracks. And then over near your ladder right here, come to this last section of track, and we're going to divert the course for this one. So we're going to bring it out here instead. So Minecart's going to take a little corner and run along in this direction. So we'll start placing our tracks again. So the spawner's up the far end. This is where we're going to start, and we're going to go a powered rail there. Now I want you to grab a lever and come underneath this block and turn that on. And we're going to place power rail for as long as this signal is going to last. Okay, it becomes unpowered there, and that's where we switch to regular rail. And if you come along to this other side, underneath this corner block here, we're going to place another lever, switch that on, powered rail there, and same thing from this side. We're going to place powered rail for as long as the signal lasts. There, it runs out of power, and that's where our regular rail is going to go. So now grab your levers and come down to this side and all along here to put in levers and switch them all on. And once you've done that, go across to the other side and do the same. Alright, that's the last lever placed, so we're going to use regular rail here. Minecart's going to take a corner back to the powered rail, and we're going to send it up back off in this direction, and that is where the powered rail power is going to run out. So we'll switch to regular and then back to powered in the same spot all the way down to here, and we'll take a corner again, and it's pretty easy, you get the idea. We're going to place all the rail. And don't worry if you misplace something and or you break a torch or something like that and it goes into one of the hoppers. Just leave it in there, just leave it in the dropper. You're going to have a lot of stuff falling into these hoppers, and we're going to collect it all. Oops, I got distracted, went too far with the powered rail. Just let everything fall into the hoppers, it doesn't matter, we'll collect it at the end. Now, there's one difference here. When we come to these rails that go on top of the slabs that we lowered down a bit, just keep them as powered rail, and you won't need to power them with a lever. They will be powered when they need to be. So you can just ignore it. it'll all fall together in the end. And when we come to this bendy bit here, you can just do 3 regular rails, then powered rail all along here, and back to 3 regular rails. And like in the middle there, you don't have to worry about powering this. It will be powered when it needs to be. And we're done with the rail. So now we're going to start placing the redstone that's going to fire all of these droppers. And this is only a third of the droppers. There's going to be 2 more placed on top, and this is the level where our floor of the maze is going to be. So I want you to come along to where we placed our start button before, and underneath here place a block right there with a piece of dust on top, and that dust is directly below the start button. So you can place a torch on the side of that block, and then underneath the torch place a temporary block, another block underneath, delete the temporary block, and place a block right there, and then we'll place another one right there, and you can place dust on these 3. Then we'll place another block right there, and a torch coming out here, and a torch coming out here. Then grab some slabs, and we're going to run a line of slabs along here. Now, not all of these will need to be slabs, but some of them will be. So it's just easier to make every single one of them a slab, and then we don't have to worry about getting the wrong one in there. And out like that. So now you're going to want to place dust along here, and then leading into every single dropper you're going to need a repeater. So you can place dust in some spots, but if it's leading into a dropper it must be a repeater, and we'll just keep going along until we get to the end there. Now here at the end you're going to want to place another repeater. That repeater is going to lead into a block and just run a line of blocks all the way down here. Oops. Until we're level with the last row of droppers, and then place a block every second block on top like so, and then delete the block underneath that top block that we just placed. So we've got a little ziggy zaggy, and we're going to place dust on top of all of these, and the dust is going to go for more than 15 blocks, so the signal's not going to reach the end, but we'll deal with that in a little bit. So coming back to where we've got the input from our start button, we've done that side, let's do this side. So you can have a piece of dust here because it's not leading into a dropper, but after that repeaters leading into the droppers. Until we get to the end, we're going to do a repeater leading into a block, and just like we did on the other side we're going to make a little ziggy zaggy. So we're going to power all of these droppers in lines of repeaters, and each line is going to be set up slightly differently, but I think you'll watch the tutorial and you're like, I've got it, and you'll be able to do it without following me precisely, but I'm going to show you line by line. So when you press the button, the signal is going to come through here into this dust, and we want to draw a signal from here. So repeater coming out of that block and repeaters leading into these droppers. Now there's a big gap here, so we'll stop there, and the same thing on this side, and you'll notice I've put down slabs here as well. So a repeater coming out of here and repeaters leading into these droppers, and that's first line done. So again, repeaters all the way along here, and there's no gap in the middle, so we're going to come to about halfway and then not worry about that slab. And then from this side, same thing, repeater, if I can place it, coming out of here, all the way along here, and we'll stop right there. So the next line is going to be a little bit different. So this is the first one we've got here where we knocked out that block and put a slab in. We're not going to power this from each side, we're only going to power it from one side, and it doesn't matter which one, you can decide. So I'm going to start powering it from this side. We're going to place a slab there, repeater coming out of there, and I'll just quickly put in all the slabs. So we're going to run repeaters all the way down to the very far end, and we're going to stop where it leads into that last dropper. So because we don't need to run a signal from here, we can knock out that piece of redstone there and throw a repeater in instead, and you won't need redstone on top of those two blocks anymore, and now that signal will reach the end. Okay, so the next line, we're going to run repeaters from each side into the droppers, and same again on this side. So next line, same again, drawing a signal from each end, repeater into the dropper, but then we can place some dust. This is where we skipped a few droppers. Place a few dust there, but then remember, a repeater leading into that dropper. Never have dust leading into a dropper. It can be coming from a dropper, but never leading into one. And same here, we can have dust coming from the dropper, but not leading into it. We need a repeater leading into the dropper, very important. And that's that line done. So next line, gaining power from each end again, just place down your repeaters. Now this next one's going to be a little bit different. So remember before where we sent the signal all the way along to the end so we could put a repeater in there? We've got to do the same for that side. So we've got the repeater on this side because we brought the signal from over there. Now we're going to reverse it. So we're going to take the signal from the opposite side this time and run it all the way down with repeaters on top of your slabs until we get to the last dropper there. And where that signal would have come out, we're going to break that, place in a repeater, and then break the dust on each side. So you've got about 13 dust there, and then it gets the boost in the signal from that repeater. So just 3 more to go, and I'm sure you know what you're doing by now. So I'll just show you all of these at the same time. So bring a signal in from each side. We're going to go about halfway with this one, then knock out that slab. And signal from this side as well to there, and then just signals from each of these sides. Make sure you don't miss any, otherwise you're going to be taking the game apart a little bit to try and find the droppers that you haven't powered. But that's it, all the powering is done. So when you play a game of the Pac-Man, you're going to collect all your slices and put them into a chest, and all those slices are going to filter down into a dropper, which is going to count if you've got the correct amount. So I want you to come right to the middle of the game, to that middle slab there, place a dropper facing straight up right there. So now if we're looking at the spawner, I want you to grab some hoppers, and on the left hand side of this dropper, place a hopper feeding into it, and then 2 hoppers feeding into the dropper and the hopper, 2 more on top, and now I want you to place 2 blocks right there, and this is very important. Feed the hoppers into those blocks, not into the hoppers below. And on top of them we'll put a chest, and that's where we're going to place all our items. And we've got the double chain of hoppers just because we're going to be putting a lot of items in there. We want them to filter down to that dropper as fast as they can, so that'll double the speed. And you can leave those blocks right there, that's fine. So the next thing I want you to do is to place blocks against these hoppers right there, and an extra block right there with dust on all of these 3, and we will get back to that in a minute. But now we are going to complete the floor of the maze. So on each of these droppers, place 2 more droppers facing straight up. Okay, so it'll look like this when you're done, and now we're going to start placing in the maze. And rather than show you block by block what I'm doing, I might just complete this, and then we can do a couple of screenshots and you can copy them from that. So all these screenshots will be if you're facing the spawner. So take a few shots right now. It's pretty easy to get the pattern right because all the droppers are in place. If you start going wrong, you'll notice straight away because there's a dropper in the way, and you'll also notice that each side is a little bit different. You've got 2 T-shapes here, whereas on this side you've got a big X shape. And you'll also note that with this room in the middle, there are 3 entrances. So on this left hand side, that's just a solid wall, but you've got an entrance there, there, and there. So now just go ahead and on top of all of these visible blocks that we just placed, place down fences. I'm using dark oak. So now to finish off the floor, we'll start in this middle room here. I want you to place either glowstone or sea lanterns in each of these corners. Here you could use jack-o'-lanterns. You'd have to place a block underneath before you placed it, but for the rest of the maze it's going to have to be glowstone or sea lanterns because you can't be knocking out, you can't place the jack-o'-lantern on top of rail or on top of repeaters, and you don't want to be knocking it out and replacing it later. So we'll just place those in the corners. That gives us enough light, and then fill this all in with blocks. These are not going to be visible, so use whatever you like. And then you'll notice here where the redstone is, you can't place a block, and you don't want to place one right here where this dust is going to connect it to that dropper. So place a slab there, and then we can just carpet on top of all of this and on top of the redstone. So for the rest of the maze, you might want to switch between glowstone and sea lanterns and just regular blocks because none of it's going to be visible, so you can be a bit careful with your resources and not waste all your lights. But for me, I'm just going to go and spam lights all over the place. Okay, so once you've got that done, you can just cover everything up with carpet. And there we go, the maze is complete. So we'll just make our exit. You're going to want your visible block again. I'm using my yellow hardened clay. And under here we're going to have a piece of carpet, so that does not have to be a visible block. And you want carpet there because of the height of the zombie. As soon as you put a bit of carpet there, he's not going to want to chase you out the exit because he's a bit too tall. When you do finish the game though, you want to leave quickly because he could be standing here and then another guy can push him in. So you want to be straight out the door. So now we'll grab our visible blocks and place 2 here going over to the ladder, and we'll just build a bit of a wall for ourselves here so we don't fall out. There we go. So you want to grab an iron door and come and stand on this yellow block here and place it, and it will place behind you, and we'll knock out that bottom ladder actually so we can fit our pressure plate in there. You want it to be a stone pressure plate. So get your digging trousers on again. We're going to go down even further. So you want to come down another 3 block gap underneath this stone floor you've got, and that's where you're going to make your next floor. This one you can switch out for a better block than stone if you like, just so it looks a bit prettier, but it's just redstone. If you don't really care, then don't worry about it. But so there's going to be a 3 block gap there, and once you've put in this floor you can also knock out all of this stone here that we won't need anymore, and that'll turn it into a 1, 2, 3, 4 block gap. And you can see I've dug down and made or cleared a space that's equal to everything we've built above, except for where we did this permanent floor before. We're not going to need to clear out this area underneath. But all of this, clear it out. A lot of places we're not going to be putting anything, but it's easier just to dig it all out. And in a couple of spots around the edges where we've got the minecarts, you may have to dig into the walls a little bit, but just do that as you need to. Okay, now we're going to get our minecart up and running. So we've got our on button right here, so I want you to come down on this side over to this bottom dropper here and place a block underneath, and then a block right there. Delete that block and put a hopper facing into that block right underneath the dropper, and then a block underneath there, and delete that block. We're going to place a comparator coming out of that hopper. We're just building an item sorter here, so that comparator is going to lead into a block there and there, dust on top of those 2 with a torch right there. And inside of the hopper that has the comparator leading out of it, you want to place 1 melon slice in each of these slots and then 18 in the first slot. So next we're going to build the refilling station for our minecart. So place 3 temporary blocks right there and delete those 2 with a hopper running into that block and another hopper running into that one. Then underneath this block, place another block, then swing around the back and place a block right there. Then 4 more blocks right here. So here we're going to place a powered rail, then a detector rail, and then 3 regular rails. Up here you can place a temporary rail, then break that and place a block right there. So next we'll go down to this corner, way down here where the minecart is going to exit the maze. We'll place a temporary block there, then a block there, delete that one, block on top, 2 down here, and place a block there. You can delete that one, and 2 more blocks right there. So the minecart's just going to drop straight down to here, and we'll need to move this lever, so we'll put him there instead, and the minecart will land on these 2 powered rail right here. Then we're going to turn a corner and we're going to bring this up until we are level with that last block down there. Whoops. And then we'll bring it across and connect these 2 together, and you'll need to place one right there, and we'll just place in the rail. So regular rail in the corners and powered rail all along here. These will be powered by the levers above, and just here place a lever and we'll power this rail here. Now we'll build the track for the minecart to enter the maze, so place 2 blocks there and then 3 blocks right here. Then I want you to place 2 temporary blocks right there, and we'll grab a slab and place it right there, and you can delete that one, and we'll bring this along here until we're 1 block out from these other blocks above. There we go. So here's where the minecart's entering the maze. I want you to bring this down 1 more, and then block there, and you can bring this along and connect the two. So regular rail in the corners and powered rail everywhere else. So you can place a lever there and switch it on to power that rail. This rail here will get powered by the levers above, but you'll notice it doesn't reach the end. And if you just power it like this, you'll notice that doesn't work. You need to break that bit of rail, then power it, and you can put the powered rail back in. So regular rail there, and a piece of powered rail there, and we'll power that later. Now we're going to connect our start button to an etho hopper clock. So I want you to come below this torch right here, place a temporary block directly below it, then another block, and we can delete that first block and place a piece of redstone dust on top of there. Then we'll come around to here, place a temporary block there, delete that one, and have a repeater running off that block with the dust on top. Now place a temporary block right here, block on top, a block below, and a sticky piston coming out of that middle block. We can then delete that one and place a piece of redstone dust right there. There'll be a redstone block on the face of that sticky piston. Then we'll come out 3 temporary blocks, delete those 2, and a regular piston right there. Below this temporary block, place another block, and we can delete that one, place a piece of redstone dust right there. Now we'll come along to this side against that piece of dust. I want to place a block right there and a block right there. That'll have a comparator leading into that block, and we'll do the same here. Against the dust, block there, and temporary block there, delete that one with a comparator running into there. And I'll just place a temporary block there, and we'll do a hopper leading in that block, delete that, a hopper leading into the other hopper, and place 57 items inside of the hoppers. They can be any item you want, but they must be able to stack to 64. So to finish, just pop a couple of furnaces on top. This will help to cut down on a bit of lag and stop any other items falling into those hoppers. Next, grab a redstone torch, place it right there to power that piece of rail, and grab a lever and place it on this block. And you want to power this on and off until you get the track facing in that direction. So the incoming minecart will turn and go into here, and the outgoing one will turn in that direction. So I've got it powered on, but depending which direction you're building your game, you might have it powered off, but that's the way we want it. Then over here, I want you to place a torch on that block, and then a block against that hopper with a piece of dust on top. This hopper is now locked, so when you play a game, the items will collect here, ready to be counted to make sure you've collected them all. And when you press the start button to start a new game, the hopper clock will start and unlock this, allowing enough time for these items to trickle out into your minecart and ready for the next game. But just in case maybe there's some lag or something and the start button gets pressed twice, we don't want the whole game being fired twice and you're getting twice the amount of melon slices that you're supposed to. So we're just going to stop the start button from getting pressed twice in quick succession. So place a block there with a comparator leading out of it, and down here we'll place a piece of dust, and right over here we'll place a repeater coming out of that block, and then place a block on top of that piece of dust. Then we're going to place 4 pieces of dust coming out of that repeater, 2 blocks right here, and then temporary block on top, delete that one, and we'll run the dust to there with a torch on top of this block, then another block and a torch on top of that one, and that will lock the start button from having any effect. Now where we've got this torch locking that hopper, we're also going to add a block on top of that torch and a torch there. This torch will power this rail when it needs to be powered, and it will also power the dust we placed earlier. So if you've just pressed the button and this dropper is still letting the melon slices load into the minecart, and the person playing the game decides to put melon slices in the chest early, this dust will keep it from getting mixed in with the melon slices from the previous game. Our minecart's going to launch when we press the start button, so over here I I want you to place a temporary block there, delete that one with a piece of dust on top. Now we want to avoid placing dust on top of this block because the comparator is going to power it, so we're going to place one there and then 3 here and run the dust like so. Then against these hoppers I want you to place 2 slabs, and we'll do one more on the end and a block there and a slab right there, then 2 blocks, and we'll run the dust along here. When you get to the end, place a torch right there. Then on top of this detector rail, place a wooden fence post. Then we're going to do 3 temporary blocks, delete those 2, and place a sticky piston against that block, and you can delete that block then. So occasionally people are going to play the game and they're going to die and then not worry about finishing it, and your items up there, the melon slices, will despawn. So we need another way of bringing extra melon slices into the game when that happens. Otherwise you won't have enough to keep playing the games. So we've got where our minecart's going to go right here with hoppers leading in from that side. We're going to lead a hopper in from this side and then place another hopper there leading into that one. And then on top here we'll place a double chest, and you'll be able to fill that up with extra melon slices. But we don't want these ones refilling the minecart all the way and then not allowing the ones from the previous game to enter. So we're going to put a lock on this hopper. When the minecart gets a certain amount of melon slices in there, it's going to lock any more melon slices coming in from this direction, and that's pretty easy to do. So next to this detector rail, place a block with a comparator reading out of there, then 2 blocks like so with dust there and there, then 1 on top of the hopper. Now this is optional, but I'm going to put in a small melon farm, so you don't have to constantly be coming back here and checking if there are enough melon slices. We'll do one, just a small one here, so it will automatically keep that chest stocked up if items do despawn. So we'll put a hopper leading into the chest, and we're going to do a dropper elevator right here, 3 droppers high, facing straight up. And this is going to be hard to place, but if you get yourself inside one of those slabs we placed earlier, you can just get yourself up high enough to place that dropper facing straight up. And we're going to do it straight up rather than into this hopper, because if the chest ever clogs up and this hopper clogs up, then this dropper elevator is going to keep ticking and ticking and ticking, trying to fire items into there. So we're just going to drop it into a little water stream here. So place glass on top of that chest so you can open the chests, and I'm going to keep using glass, but you could use solid blocks here. 2 along there, 2 there, and this will be a bit tricky. You don't want water going everywhere, so just put a small place for your water to drop into, and we'll place a bucket of water against that hopper there, and then we will seal that up, and you can break that. We'll do the redstone for the dropper elevator in a moment, but first we're going to build the melon farm. So just place 5 hoppers leading into that bottom dropper with a line of dirt on each side. Then place a block there, 1 there, 1 there, and we'll place our water in right there, and that'll hydrate this dirt over here through the hopper chain. So this is a really simple melon farm design, and I'm avoiding using observer blocks because I want this to work on the console. So it's not my design, I can't remember whose design it is, but we'll just place 2 regular pistons like so, and then a sticky piston facing in the other direction in the middle with a redstone block right there. We'll place a block there with a repeater coming out of it. That repeater is going to lead into a block, and then we'll place 3 blocks like so and run dust down the top, and that is done. When we place a melon, it's going to get broken and go into the hopper chain. And we might just place either glowstone or sea lanterns on each side. That's going to make sure it's nice and bright for our plants, and you can hoe that space, and that space, and plant your seeds. And we'll do the exact same thing on this side. So I've done the other side, exactly the same design, and it's all up and running. So we'll do the redstone for our dropper elevator here. So I want you to grab a comparator and have it coming out of this dropper in that direction into a block, and then a repeater coming from that block, and we'll place a block there and dust right there and another dust right there. And usually, see, it's got something in already, so the clock is ticking. Usually I would bring the dust straight up here, but that's not going to work in this situation. So we'll put the repeater leading into that middle dropper there, but we're going to bring this out a little bit here and place a block right there. So we'll bring the dust up over the top here, and that's all firing correctly now. So I want you to come into your game and knock out those 3 blocks and these 3 where your iron door is, and replace these with redstone lamps. So come around to the back of the game, guys, and against these redstone lamps place wooden planks. Have to be wooden planks, and place dirt against these. Has to be dirt, because we're going to be placing note blocks on top of these, and whichever block is underneath the note block affects the sound it's going to make. So on the 2 outside note blocks, I want you to tune these right clicking 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. On the middle ones, we're going to be doing 8. And finally, the 2 note blocks closest to the center of your game, you're going to double the 8, make it 16. So now we're going to rig up the system that counts if you've got enough melon slices in that dropper to open the door. And we're going to do that by reading a signal strength of 4 from this dropper. So place a slab right there, make sure it's a slab because we have a torch underneath, and put a comparator coming out of that dropper, and then 4 blocks like so with dust on top. There won't be enough melon slices in each individual game to get this to a signal strength of 4. It'll get to 3 and a bit. So we need to add 14 items just to get it up to that signal strength. I'm using cobblestone. It can be any item you like as long as they can stack to 64. And they will always stay in this dropper because of the item sorter we put in here earlier. So as the signal strength increases, it's going to fire a note block. So there's always going to be a signal strength of 1 because of those cobblestone we have there, but when it reaches a signal strength of 2, it'll fire the first note block. So we'll rig that up right now. So you just want to have repeaters running off each side of that second piece of dust. So I'll build this side, and then you can just copy it for the other side. So go 1, 2, 3 blocks there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks there. We'll do a repeater on the end and just link these up with dust. This repeater on the end is going to run into a block, and that block will have a piece of dust on top. Then place a block on top of the repeater with a redstone torch on top, a block on top of that redstone torch with another torch on top. So once you've built that and copied it on the other side, we're going to do the next signal strength. So place a block there, block there, block there. You can delete that one. We might need to break this for a moment so we can get in there. Place repeaters coming out of each side there, and I'll just put that back. So once again, I'll build one side and then you can copy it over on the other side. So this repeater is going to run into a block, and we'll just place a temporary block there, delete that one. It's going to come across 2, and then we're going to step it up 2 more, and we're going to run dust along like so. So there's going to be a torch on top of this block with a block on top, then a piece of dust there, a block on this side of the dust with a torch on top. So for the last signal strength, we're going to come underneath with a temporary block right there, another block there, delete that one, and another block right there, then temporary block, block on top, delete that one. We will have a repeater right there, then a piece of dust, and we're going to do another note block here. So place a note block there with dirt underneath, and we're going to right click on this 12 times. Then on top of this block, we're going to place a torch with a block on its head, and you'll hear the iron door here. That torch controls the iron door to let us out. Then we'll place a torch there with a block on top and a torch off the side of that block another block there, another torch, and a block there. Then we're just going to run some blocks in a jagged line like so and power those note blocks with dust, and we'll do the same thing on this side. That torch there is the one directly below the iron door, so the pressure plate is on top of that block there. So we're going to place a block here with a piece of dust on top and a torch right there. Then come underneath the torch, place temporary block there, delete that one, torch on this side with a piece of dust on top. Then again, temporary block there, delete that one, and we want to get in line with this slab, so there's one more block, and then we'll run the redstone line down this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 dust there into a block, and there's our 15th. Then we're going to place a block right there with a repeater on a 3 tick delay. So when you hit the pressure plate, it's going to send a signal through here, turn off that torch, which unlocks the hopper and allows a few items to escape. So this will no longer be putting out a signal strength of 4, and the door will close. We don't want anyone pressing the start button though, just as you're leaving the game, because this piston is going to be extended and it will muck with our hopper clock. So we're going to run a signal from here, so a repeater right there, and we'll put a line of dust connecting to this signal we put in before that disables the start button. So it's almost time to start playing with the zombies, but before we do that, remember earlier I said don't worry about items falling into the hoppers and then going into the droppers, because we're going to collect them later. We're going to do that now. So you can press the start button, let all the lag happen, and you'll have to press it at least twice to get all the items to come up through the droppers. And I'm on creative here, so it doesn't look like I've dropped anything, but just go down and collect them all, and then press the button a few more times. You want to be able to press it twice in a row without any items coming up, and then you know that your droppers are completely empty. So we're going to put our minecart with a chest into the game. You don't want to place it there because it won't sit properly in that little fence post contraption we've got. So come along to where the minecart will exit the game and pop it right there, and it will load itself into place, and it's going to start loading up with the melon slices, and just wait until you've got about 2 stacks in there before you press the button. So the magic number is 1 stack of 64 and then a stack of 46. That's how many melon slices are in each game. So I'm going to go press the button now, launch the minecart, and he will do a run of the track. Okay, that went off without a hitch, and he's going back to get refilled again. So once again, we'll make sure that he's got enough to complete a full course. And it's a bit hard to tell when they stack like that. Yes, he's got enough already. So let's send him for another go. So after this press and after the minecart's run his course, the game should be good to go. We'll have 1 melon slice in each center dropper, but we still have to test it to make sure all the droppers are firing correctly, that we've wired it properly. So I'll just wait for that minecart to return, and then we'll play a game. But here we go, press the button, and we'll watch our melon slices pop up through the ground. Now the reason we're playing a game here is we want to make sure that all of them came out, so I'm just going to run around and collect them all. 64 and 46, the magic number. So now we'll test this, so I'll put it into the chest and we'll see if our lights and our door work correctly. Yes, and will the door close behind us when I go off the pressure plate? It does. Excellent. So come in beneath your spawner where you've got this hole in the floor directly below it, and place a border of glass around that hole. Then place a temporary block there with an iron trapdoor. It could be a wooden trapdoor, but I'm using iron right there, and delete that block. Then you want to go into your spawner, start knocking out the lights, and you want to place a bucket of water in each corner. And they're starting to spawn already, so let's get out of here. Now you also want to place a bucket of water inside the glass right there. Now this will serve to bounce these guys around a little bit so that they're more easily picked up by the minecart. But if a baby zombie gets into here, he will drown because this trapdoor puts him just up high enough that his head is in the water, but he can't swim out. So that's a good thing. We don't want baby zombies in the game. The other neat thing about this design is that these zombies are in range of that spawner. So that spawner can see them and it's saying to itself, we've already got 4 zombies in here, or however many it is. I don't need to spawn anymore. Next you want to place a block underneath there and another block under there and a block on this side and delete that one. So it will look like that. Then we'll do 4 more blocks out in this direction. So you've got 5 in total. And on top of that last block, place a dispenser, not a dropper, facing in that direction. And load it up with a few minecarts. Put a few in there just in case you lose one for one reason or another. And then we'll get some rail and run it up like so. So grab yourself a lever and power that block right there and that'll power your rail. Then place 2 more blocks there. Then we're going to do a corner and another corner. So 4 in total there, and we're going to make another track coming out in this direction. So we'll put powered rail on all the straight bits and regular rail where there's intersections or corners, and we can power that one there and power these right here. So we're going to put in a tripwire here. So place a block right, and the zombies aren't going to let me do it. Go away, zombies. There we go. And we're going to place a tripwire right there, piece of string, and do a temporary block there, delete that one, and another tripwire hook right there. So when the minecart picks up an adult zombie, it's going to trigger this, and we want this track to change and send the adult zombie off in that direction. So if your track's facing the way mine is, that's good. It's going to be nice and easy. So underneath this tripwire block, place a block there, and you just need to place a piece of dust on it and a block right there. So now that will cause the track to change. So if the minecart fails to pick up a zombie, it's going to travel back in this direction and be destroyed. Or if a baby zombie hasn't had time to drown before you pick him up, he will also be sent in this direction. But let's say your track wants to face in a different direction to mine, then you're going to need to put a redstone torch into the mix. So I would put it probably right there, do a temporary block underneath, block there, delete that one, and we'll have to knock out that lever too. And you can't put dust here because it's going to be triggered by the tripwire, so we'll come underneath, break that out, one there. So dust, I'm guessing a repeater here. I haven't had to build this one myself. Repeater there, and we'll put a temporary block there, delete that one, and we'll put a piece of dust right there. And there we go. Now the track is going in the other direction, which is actually the wrong one for what we want, and the tripwire will cause it to change. But we don't need to do that in our version that we've got right here, so I'll just knock these out and put it back the way I had it before. There we go. So a minecart that does not pick up an adult zombie is going to come through here, so we'll do a temporary block there, block on top, block there, then temporary block there, magma block right there. Seems a little strange, but there is method to my madness, and we'll do 2 hoppers leading into that dispenser right there. So over here we're going to place a temporary block there, block underneath, delete that, and a piece of sand. A cactus is going to go right there. We won't place it in just yet, but we'll go 2 regular rails right there, and then powered rail right there. Then I want you to grab a trapdoor and place it there. So we're going to come into here, place a temporary block there, and we'll delete the temporary one, and we'll do a comparator reading off that hopper. So that comparator is going to lead into a block. Underneath we want another block. There we go. And we'll place a piece of dust on top of that block, we're going to have a repeater coming out of that block into a block with a piece of dust on top, and that will automatically trigger another minecart to be launched. Now if a minecart has picked up a baby zombie before he's had time to drown, he's going to come in here and it's going to get broken. The baby zombie is going to be thrown onto this magma block, and we don't want him escaping. So you can pop a furnace on top of that hopper there just to cut down on a bit of lag. But we'll put glass around here just so we can see him on the magma block, because it's kind of funny. Around like that, so there'll be a cactus there, but you put another piece of glass on top, and then he'll be trapped in there, and he won't be able to jump out because this trapdoor makes this gap too short for him. So he'll be stuck on the magma block or stuck on the cactus. So underneath this hopper, place a hopper there, and we'll do a dropper facing in that direction with another hopper leading into that. Then you can place a block right here. Is that the right one? Yes, it is. And we'll do a comparator off there into a block, 2 blocks here with dust on these 2 blocks, and we'll get a redstone torch and place it right there. Then over at this dropper, I want you to place a comparator coming out of the dropper into a block, and it's going to come from that block in the form of a repeater. That repeater is going to run into another block, and we'll place 2 blocks there and 2 there. So we'll go dust on these 3 and a repeater right there. So grab yourself some zombie flesh, and in this middle hopper right here, place 1 item in each of them and the rest of the zombie flesh in the front, and that'll trickle down until there's 18 left. And so anytime zombie flesh comes into there, it's just going to be spat out here and will despawn. So an adult zombie is going to be picked up, it'll hit the tripwire and come down this track. So we'll continue this. We want it to be 11 blocks in total. We've already got 3, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then place 1 block there, then we're going to step it up 1, step it up another 1, and 1, 2, 3 there, 1, 2 in this direction. Now we're going to step down 2, then we'll put another block on the end there and bring it over in this direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, and place a hopper into the back of that dispenser and a hopper leading into that hopper there. Now we can put our track in. So powered rail all along here, regular rail, powered rail up to the top, regular rail on all the corners. Now we're going to use an activator rail right there, and powered rail down here along in this direction. Then on top of this hopper place a regular rail, then another one there, break that, and we can find a cactus, which I don't have, and we'll place the cactus right there. And remember to have a block on his head so the baby zombie can't escape, and so this doesn't grow and we end up getting bits of cactus inside of our hopper system. Now grab yourself some levers. We're going to place one here that'll power the powered rail and the activator rail, and place another one here, and that will power all the rest of the rail. So we've got our spawning chamber there right in the corner. I want you to place a sticky piston facing in that direction. Now we also need to knock out this block and place a sticky piston in that direction, which I probably should have done before we put the water in. So let's just build a little dam here so the water's not going to go absolutely everywhere. We should be right now, so I'm just going to knock that one out. There's the water, and place a sticky piston in there, and we're good. So now we've got 2 sticky pistons on top of each other, and that one's going to be visible inside here. So there it is right in the corner. So yeah, you might want to do that before putting the water in on second thought. So then place a block right there, another one beside it, and we'll build a little line of blocks along like so, and then bring a wall up here. So the zombie's going to be ejected from the minecart, and we want him to be ejected down here. So you can place a line of blocks up the top here, and that should be enough to get him to be ejected onto there. But the mechanics might be a little bit different on the console, so what I would recommend is just covering up all this area So it sort of gives the zombie no choice but to be ejected into there. And if you like, you can put some glass along here so he doesn't take any damage while he's doing it. So that should be enough, and he'll just pop out and be ejected onto there. You might even want to build this up a little bit higher just to be on the safe side, but really shouldn't be necessary. So the zombie is going to be ejected into a water stream, so let's just make this safe for water. I'm going to place a block right there, and you want to grab a stone pressure plate. Must be a stone pressure plate, don't be placing a wooden pressure plate in there. And we'll pop a water stream in, so now he'll fall into the water stream and be pushed along to this pressure plate. And you can place a block there to close that up, although this block is going to change, and I'll show you why. So against that block, place a slime block. Then we'll do a couple of temporary blocks there, delete that one with a sticky piston right there, and we can break that block. So wherever this slime block is going to hit anything, we need to put an immovable block. So I'm using melons for that. I think it's pretty appropriate. And I'm just going to put some melons on this side too to remind me not to put any other block there, or it's going to get stuck to that slime block. So you can place a block on each side of this pressure plate. And on this side we're going to place another block. So we'll go 2 dust there. That dust is going to run into a block. And we'll put a redstone torch on the side where the sticky pistons are, and that will extend them both. So now when you hit the pressure plate, the first thing that happens is this wall will get retracted. The second thing is we'll put a repeater right there on a 4-tick delay, because we want time for this wall to be retracted before this piston fires, and that'll run into a block. So now the slime block's going to get fired after that wall's been retracted, but we want that wall to stay open until this has had a chance to go back in. So place 2 blocks right there with a piece of dust right there and another repeater facing in that direction on a 4-tick delay, and we'll give this a test. So I'll jump in the water. Everything's working fine. So I want you to knock out that block there, and then we'll come around to this side and we'll put a dropper right there facing in this direction, and inside this dropper just fill it up with items, whatever items you like. So when you push the button to start the game, this dropper will also spit one of these items down here into the water stream, and he'll be waiting on the pressure plate. So if the zombie's a zombie that will pick up an item, he will pick up that item there before he's spat into the game, and that way he's not going to pick up one of our melon slices, because if we don't have enough we won't be able to complete the game. And the cool thing about this is, because you can access it from here, you can take all these items out and put swords and stuff in there and make it really difficult to play the game. So we'll put a button just above that dropper and a torch on the opposite side, and we'll grab 2 dust right there and a torch right there. Then we'll put a temporary block there, block underneath, delete that, and a block right there. So we'll go dust, dust, that dust isn't going to interfere with that piston, and a block right there, and a repeater running into that piece of yellow clay, and I'll just shoot around the other side. There's our repeater right there leading into that block, so place a block on top of our dispenser with the minecarts on it with a piece of dust on top, and let's test this out. So push the button. The item gets spat down there, it's waiting on the pressure plate, and let's see if the zombie goes in. No problems at all, and he'll probably burn up because I haven't got a ceiling on this. You'll be building underground, you'll have a ceiling, so he'll be fine, but he's gonna burn, the poor guy. So believe it or not guys, we are done. That is how to build Pac-Man. And remember, I will be putting the world download in the description, so you can come on here and give it a test run. You probably want to test it on the one with the roof, otherwise the zombies are going to burn up on this one. But that's it. I know it was a long tutorial, but thanks for watching, and remember, this is a really fun game. It's definitely worth the build. So cheers from me, I'm Cortezerino. See y'all later.